Dragon Ball Daima Episode 5 is called Panzy, named after one of the two new characters from the Demon Realm, Glorio being the first, Panzy being the second, that would be joining Goku and the Supreme Kai on their quest down there. So let's talk about the episode. Last week, Goku saved her and took a thrashing, gave a complete thrashing to the military police that's working for Gomah. And now he may be a marked man. First and foremost, I want to bring up something from a long time ago. Sometime last year when I did a very early stream, or it was one of the early streams about Daima, maybe even when it was just called Magic, I don't really remember, but I remember that I told people that I was told that by episode 5 of Dragon Ball Daima, a lot of people who may not have been interested in the series would be into it. That's what I was told. Now, I didn't know what happened in the episode at the time. I wasn't given any kind of specifics, right? I was just told that something happens, whether it be a fight, something. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was something to that matter. So this episode, I went into it even thinking about it last week, like, okay, is this the one? And I had also was told episode 5 or 6. So there is something that happened in this episode that people are going to be very familiar with, and that is, of course, Super Saiyan Goku. Finally, Super Saiyan Goku as the mini version has appeared in Dragon Ball Daima. Now, what's interesting, here we go with the GT tie-ins. Goku went Super Saiyan in episode 5 of GT as well for the first time during the whole Legic battle. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or if they're actually doing these Easter eggs on purpose. Either way, this to me has to be what I was told. At least that's what I'm assuming. Not to mention, there's a lot more to talk about, but not to mention that at the time, if you remember, a lot of the talk about Daima was that we weren't even sure what transformations would be in it because the show would not be focused on transformations. That's not really what the whole gimmick was about. And at the time, we didn't know. Like, it wasn't until sometime earlier in 2024 that I became aware that Goku was going Super Saiyan. This is earlier this year, as well as that trailer came out where we actually saw it. So I saw some comments last week bringing up that whole thing, and like I said, I wasn't sure what it was exactly. Now it's all making sense, and there's a lot more. You know, this idea that I leaked everything is one of the silliest and most overly emotional pieces of nonsense I've ever heard. There's a lot that I don't know, and there's a lot more coming. And to me, this episode really did progress the story more, and the pacing is picking up. You know, we've talked on the Super Magic Show streams that Dragon Ball Daima is a 40th anniversary show that pays tribute to Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, and a little bit of Super. And so you're going to get a mix of things. We got like the Dragon Ball stuff with Goku being a kid, using the pole again, that kind of iconography. The whole adventure thing, going from town to town. That's how early Dragon Ball was, the first 13 or so episodes, the early chapters. And then with Super Saiyan, I mean, when you think of Super Saiyan Goku, right, you think Dragon Ball Z. Like, Goku obviously had Super Saiyan in GT, Super, and now in Daima, but Z, that's Super Saiyan Goku is identified. That is the mascot of Dragon Ball Z. So now we're starting to go into the Z era of Daima, where we're going to see more of the bigger level fights, the more of the familiarity when it comes to the over-the-topness of Z. And what's interesting about this episode is, in the opening of the episode, before we even got the the actual music opening, the Jaka Jan, they once again replayed that recap from the first and second episodes. And in this one, they showed Super Saiyan Goku. So it's almost like they were kind of telling us, okay, like, now we're getting this stuff. You know what I mean? I know that it's weird they keep sort of changing when they use that part of the intro, that sort of prelude part. But to me, that's why they did it here. That's my guess. The first sort of half of this episode is focused on Panzy and having her get acquainted with the group. And they have a discussion about like whether or not Goku's familiar with magic. And they have a scene where she tries to pick up this rock with telekinetic powers, like this thing, like she picks it up with the power of her mind, and it really, really looked right out of Star Wars. I mean, the Star Wars influence, guys, is, it's almost every episode we get something new that resembles Star Wars. So there's that. And they head over to the King's Castle. Remember that guy in the trailer who looked kind of like Dr. Miyu with the sinister mustache? And you see him briefly in the next episode preview of the last episode, playing golf, it looks like. That's the king, so to speak, of the third demon realm. The guy who Glorio kind of sent on his mission. So we meet him, we go to the castle, and it's climaxed with this fight where Goku is tested against all of these, warriors, these sort of warriors from the king's, kingdom, I guess you can say. And that's when Goku just unleashes. I mean, there's a long fight sequence here. Very, very good. Now I get to actually see what we've been told about for the past year. Goku just smashing up the entire brigade, tapping into Super Saiyan, albeit briefly, to knock some guys away, and away we go. A really, really great sequence. It's just Goku kind of running around, one-shotting them, dodging, blocking, one-shotting, knocking out like staffs, just... he's getting, and every time this happens, right? Every time this happens, he's getting more accustomed to the atmosphere of the demon realm, to his body parts. I mean, before he goes in against those guys, he hands Supreme Kai his pole, like hold my beer. You know what I mean? It's like Goku's version of hold my beer. Just gives him the freaking Nioibo and then just goes to work. Go out of your way to see that sequence. This episode also introduces the character of Hibiscus, whose pun is after the hibiscus flower. That's where his name originated from, but the pronunciation is hibiscus or hibiscus, but it's still the same pun. So we are introduced to that character in this episode. I talked about him in my trailer 4, I think it was, breakdown, as well as he's also in the opening of the show, and he's in the credits, so we knew he was coming. Now he's here. But let me go back for a minute, and I'm going to go into a lot more detail on this in the Easter eggs video, which I think is going to come out tomorrow night, if I can get it done in time. So it should be tomorrow night, the Easter egg video, and then Sunday I'm going to be live here on the channel discussing the episode and taking calls from you with your future Dragon Ball Super and Daima theories with Real to Real. And I think Monday I'll be dropping the review for the English dub, because I am going to go see it Sunday afternoon, so that's the plan, at least for right now. So early in the episode I mentioned how, Panzy talks about how in the demon realm we use magic, and that's kind of like their version of ki. And this is something that, has been sort of discussed for a while, that Goku's going to be going up against magic in this story. And that's when she tries to like use the force and, telekinetic powers and all that. Now, what's interesting is Goku says that his other name is Kakarot, and he's only referred to himself as Kakarot a very, very, very few number of times. It's not very often he does that. Of course, even before he does that, he notices the Panzy, notices the round ears, so she immediately knows that he's not from those places. Maybe he thought that she would recognize the Saiyan name. Let's not forget, guys, there's a lot of theories out there that the Saiyans may have originated in the demon realm. That has not been confirmed yet. That's just a theory that a lot of people have had. So that's not confirmed as of yet, but there's many that believe that may be the case, that an earlier version of the Saiyans, like a pre-evolution version of the Saiyans, came from the demon realm. Jordan the Dragon Lee, whom I do the Mongolorian with, has been talking a lot about that, but again, still not confirmed. This also establishes that Gomah is worse than Dabura. Interesting bit of lore that Majins, people of the demon realm, can live for 1,000 years. And I wonder if that ties into what Gomah said about Neba in that first episode, because Neba's very, very old too. Now the question is, do the Majins live 1,000 years, and that's why the lifespan machine that we saw in the previous episode, like, takes their life and shortens it? Like, is there planning to go around? Like, that's something that I was kind of scratching my head about watching this. And of course, the word Majin is people of the demon realm, not like Boo's people, not those. Remember, Majin can be used interchangeably in the demon realm. And we find out that she's 82 years old because she looks like a kid, but she's 82 because of the fact that Majins are old. Again, more Star Wars. It's like Yoda. And if that wasn't enough Star Wars, we also find out that she's a princess. So, yes, folks, if Glorio is Han Solo, Panzy is Princess Leia. That's crazy. Panzy is the daughter of the king of the third demon realm. But here's the thing. If that's true, what happened in the first Star Wars movie from 1977? What happened to Princess Leia's father? I wonder if that means that Gomah is going to eventually send somebody down there, and he may not be long for this world. I'm just saying, I'm not spoiling, I'm not leaking, I'm actually theorizing. If this is really Star Wars, then man, some bad luck may come to him. But yes, he is the guy who was like bowling, and you know, the dude who I thought looked a bit like Dr. Miyu in that shadowy picture in that trailer. But he doesn't look like that at all. He actually looks more like Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog. So they meet the king, and the mission is pretty much set that Gomah must be defeated in order to restore peace to the demon realm. And one of the funniest lines is he tells Goku that if he beats Gomah, he can marry Panzy. But Goku's like, no, I'm already married, bro. That was good stuff, man. And Panzy... Is Glorio gonna marry Panzy, bro? Is that how this show's gonna end? I'm not saying that I know for sure, but right, like that makes sense, right? That's gonna happen. I don't know. So they talk about the Dragon Balls, the Tamagomis, all that stuff. I'm not gonna go into too much detail here, but basically the king is like, well, you're not gonna beat them, but you did beat Majin Buu, so maybe you can. Of course, once again, everybody in the Demon Realm knows about Majin Buu, or at least all the royalty knows about Majin Buu, and they know how tough he was, and he has a reputation. Don't forget, in Resurrection F, Frieza mentions even King Cold knows about Majin Buu, and I did do a video about how King Cold knows about Majin Buu. It's one of the shorts here on the channel. Click the shorts tab on the front page of the channel. You have home, videos, live, shorts, and it's there. And I do have a very brief explanation about that. But needless to say, guys, Majin Buu is universally known as being dangerous, and Goku beating him, well, that's great. But also, people have to put things into context. Like, they've talked about how, you know, Glorio brings up Goku beating Majin Buu and the king, and it's been brought up multiple times. He didn't do it on his own. He had help. Vegeta helped. The fat Majin Buu helped. Everybody giving their energy helped. Like, it wasn't just Goku on his own. In a one-on-one fight, Super Saiyan 3 Goku could not beat Kid Buu. We saw that. He couldn't even maintain the form at that time. So, again, it's just funny how... I think they almost assume in their own heads that Goku is stronger than he actually is. Like, they think, well, he beat Majin Buu on his own when it wasn't on his own. But yeah, the Supreme Kai does let him know, like, you know, everything going on, like all the details. So what leads to the big rumble at the end is that the king wants to see Goku's, like, he wants to demonstrate, Goku to demonstrate how strong he really is, and that's why he's matched up against all of the king's warriors, and Goku takes him out single-handedly in an awesome scene. Again, like I said earlier in the review, seek this out, guys. Seek this out. This clip's going to end up going viral, I think, online, because it's such a beautiful just massacre of these guys. Like, it was, Goku made it look easy, and it was so, like, entertaining and cool choreography, and it was awesome. It was a really fun scene. And that's when we see Goku tap into Super Saiyan, albeit briefly. But when he does it, man, like, they're all gathering around him, and he just powers up, and there's a huge explosion, they all fly back. Then the last guy he beats, he flicks him on the forehead with his finger, knocking him down, just like he did at one of the old tournaments, and just like Beerus, did to him in Battle of Gods. It's kind of funny that you know, things do end up coming full circle, and, you know, like George Lucas said, they rhyme. It's a thing that Dragon Ball characters do, and it just shows the different levels of power and skill. So I mentioned earlier Hibiscus. I mentioned that earlier, how he's introduced here, or Hibiscus, whatever. So Supreme Kai brings up that, wait, I forgot to give Kibito the password, and Bulma and Vegeta and Piccolo are still, you know, in the higher realm, in the normal realm, that is, unable to get to the demon realm because they don't have the passcode. So the third realm demon king sends Hibiscus down there. He's like, okay, you go pick them up. So he's gonna go, presumably through warp, of course, to go pick up Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma. So we will have our full crew of 8 coming together very, very soon. They're gonna split up. I mean, they're split up initially, but they're gonna come together. And then we'll have everyone there. At least not everyone, not literally everyone, but, you know, all the ones that are featured in the main title. The 8, I guess, leads of the show, split into 2 teams, albeit temporarily. That's coming up in Daima. So that's good to know. If you're a Vegeta or Piccolo fan, you're going to get your wish very soon as they join the party. The big cliffhanger of the episode is, so they have a new ship. They're about to head off to the Tamagamis. It's time to continue the mission, and then guess what happens? Calamity yet again. The ship ends up smoking. Something's messed up. I don't know if it's the weight of the ship, but there's, I missed it if they said that. And there's smoke coming out of it. The ship begins to crash, and down it goes. And that's where the episode ends. So next week we find out what's going to happen, what the fate of, I mean, they're not going to die, obviously, but they're not going to get to the Tamagamis yet. This reminds me a lot of those old road trip movies. Remember those old, like, road trip movies where, like, National Lampoon's Vacation, where, like, or even Dumb and Dumber, where they're trying to get from one place to another, and there's something keeps stopping them, some kind of calamity, something bad happens, the car breaks down, somebody has to puke. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those classic comedy, like, 80s road trip movies. That's what this is reminding me of. Okay, we're gonna go to the Tamagamis, we're gonna go to the king, and then the ship breaks down, or the ship gets stolen. Now we're gonna go, the ship breaks down. So it puts a smile on my face, because it's like Dragon Ball, again, going back to Toriyama's comedic roots, because it's a calamity, but it's a fun adventure. And this has become my favorite episode so far, because we saw Super Saiyan, we saw the best sequence we've seen so far in Daima as far as combat goes. And the plot is moving forward. We have our foursome. The other 4 are coming. So things are starting to feel fresh. I will go into much more detail in my Easter eggs video, so stay tuned for that. Join us Sunday afternoon. I will be here at 5 p.m. That's the plan, with Reel to Reel. Make sure you guys are there taking your calls and your super chats. I will see you guys there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Easter egg video. Remember to take care of yourself and each other.